I think it's time that we talk about the San Antonio Spurs. I feel like they're not getting a whole lot of media coverage, even though their roster is absolutely stacked. The general consensus seems to be that the Spurs are still a few years away from contending, but I don't think that's true at all. In my opinion, the Spurs can compete as early as next season, and no, that's not crazy. Let me explain. Their projected starting lineup is De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan, and Victor Wembanyama. From a talent perspective, this is one of the best starting lineups in the league. De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle are both capable 20-point per game scorers, and both of them are elite perimeter defenders. And then at the 3, they have Harrison Barnes, who provides the team with the much-needed veteran presence. It also doesn't hurt that he's one of the most consistent 3-and-D players in the league. I know a lot of people love to hate on Harrison Barnes, but last season he averaged 12 points on about 28 minutes per game, all while shooting 43% from 3. It's a pretty solid starter if you ask me. Then at power forward, the Spurs have Jeremy Sohan, one of the best young perimeter defenders in the league. He's a decent playmaker, and although he needs to work on his shot a little bit, he's definitely a solid power forward. Then of course at center, the Spurs have Victor Wembanyama, the alien. This guy's an absolute freak of nature. I've never seen anything like him. He's 7'4", but he moves like a guard, consistently hitting pull-up threes and Euro steps around defenders. In his first 2 seasons, he's putting up 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists per game in only 31 minutes a night. And for anyone who knows ball, you'll understand how crazy those numbers are in only 31 minutes a night. If you made it this far in the video, it probably means that you like NBA content and you love basketball, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. I'm trying to build a community of people that love basketball. Thanks. Anyways, apart from his crazy offensive capabilities, Victor Wembanyama is also the best defender in the NBA. He was running away with the Defensive Player of the Year award last season before he got ruled out with a blood clot. The point is, when Wemby's on the floor, the Spurs ceiling is insanely high. And don't even get me started on how good the Spurs bench is. Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Julian Champagnie, and Luke Cornett is probably one of the best benches in the entire NBA. Dylan Harper was the number 2 pick in this year's draft, right behind Cooper Flagg, and I think it could have been argued that he could have gone over Cooper Flagg. He's that good. He's a 6'6" guard who can do a little bit of everything, and he's projected to be good enough to be a franchise player in the future, so he's a great guy to be coming off the bench. And then at shooting guard, the Spurs have Devin Vassell, who's shown in the past that he's capable of being a 20-point per game scorer. Not a bad guy to be coming off the bench as your 6th man. At small forward, Keldon Johnson is one of the most solid backups in the NBA. He's shown that he can get buckets when given opportunities, and he's also a pretty solid defender. Then at the backup power forward spot, the Spurs have Julian Champagnie, who's one of the best backup 3-point shooters in the NBA, shooting 37% last season on 6 attempts per game. Keep in mind he only shot 8 shots a game, so he's pretty much strictly a 3-point shooter. And lastly, at the backup center spot, the Spurs have Luke Cornett, who they just signed this offseason to a 4-year, $40 million contract, which I think is actually a bargain. He can give them great backup minutes at the center position, which is something they've been lacking in the first 2 years of Wemby's career. The Spurs also now have 2 7-footers, so they could run them out there together occasionally. As a whole, the Spurs are going to have a lot more flexibility when it comes to lineups and rotations next season, since the roster is filled with good shooters and good defenders. From top to bottom, the Spurs are just extremely balanced as a whole. The team is obviously anchored by their star players De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. Both of these guys can absolutely take over a game if needed, which is extremely important, especially in the playoffs. I'd argue that the Spurs have 6 different guys on their roster that could all average 20 points per game if they were given enough shots. This is just an absolute luxury, especially for a team that's so young. And out of the 10 main rotation players, only 2 of them are non-shooters in Jeremy Sohan and Luke Cornett. Although Luke Cornett can shoot a little bit, he's just usually not given the green light. All this just means that the Spurs are going to have elite spacing, which is going to really open up the floor for players like De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama. Opposing defenses won't be able to double Victor in the post either, because everyone else is a shooter on the floor. And if they do decide to double Victor, he's just going to kick it out to the open shooter every single time, meaning that the Spurs are going to be an absolute nightmare for defenses to deal with. I also feel like most casual fans don't really appreciate just how good De'Aaron Fox is. When he plays aggressively and tries to get downhill consistently, I don't think there's anyone in the league that can really stop him. The roster as a whole is also just extremely athletic, making them even harder to guard than they already are. Their athleticism will also translate to the defensive side of the ball, as they'll be able to switch almost everything. And being able to switch everything makes playing defense so much easier, and it's a luxury that most NBA teams don't have because they have guards that are too small, unathletic, or they have bigs that are too slow. And this just simply isn't going to be a problem for the Spurs. In my opinion, the only thing that can really stop the Spurs is if the young guys don't buy into their roles. As I mentioned a few times, they have several players on the roster that could all get buckets if they need to, but some of these guys really need to focus on the defensive side of the ball and sit in the corner and shoot threes. If these young guys can put their ego to the side and buy into their role, the Spurs are going to be a really good basketball team this season and win a whole lot of basketball games. Simply put, a roster that's this good, built around Victor Wembanyama, has a chance to compete for a championship. And no, that's not crazy to say. But what do you guys think? How many games are the Spurs going to win this year? Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to make the finals? Let me know down in the comments. and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.